Well, I'm joined now by Adam Ma'anit, whose cousin Zahaki is among the hostages. His daughter, the hostage's daughter Mayan, was murdered in front of him during the October the 7th attacks. Thanks very much indeed for joining us on what must be a day or days, of course, more than a year of waiting very patiently with grave concern. How are you feeling right now about this potential ceasefire?
Very anxious. We've been here before. We've had news of imminent deals perhaps coming to pass months ago in July, earlier in the year as well. And each time we've had our hopes raised and then dashed on the rocks of despair. I have learned since then to be more cautious and guarded in my optimism. I do remain optimistic. It's important to remain sanguine about this possibility because it's the only way to remain sane. It's been 466 days, of which the hostages have been held in captivity. Everyone from age, currently a baby who was taken hostage at 9 months old we're going to be marking his second birthday this Saturday. At the same time, our streets in the UK will be filled with people who are cheering on his captors. I think that having waited 466 days, it's a mark of shame on everyone involved and the entire international community that we didn't bring the hostages home sooner, and especially the most vulnerable. We have a man who's 84 years old, whose daughter lives in London, who's very anxious about him. He has a medical condition. His wife was released in the November deal. He should have been released as well. It's a mark of great shame that all of these hostages are still there, languishing under Hamas
Yeah, it's obviously a huge
control.
concern, and that's the crucial thing you said is why wasn't a deal achieved so much sooner? I mean, of course, everyone wishes none of this happened at all, but the fact that the deal hasn't been achieved, I understand families have and representatives of the families of the hostages have repeatedly met with the Israeli government as well. There are talks today as well with Prime Minister Netanyahu. What are you hoping for? Because as we understand right now, the deal has been sent to the Israeli side and is awaiting approval. And as we've heard, it's the closest it's ever been. What are you hoping? That it will be accepted at any cost?
First of all, I think it's important to say that I'm not a politician. I'm not a diplomat. And I'm certainly not a military expert. I am a cousin of a hostage whose daughter was murdered on October 7th. My interest is in securing the immediate freedom of the 98 hostages languishing in Gazan tunnels under control of Hamas and Islamic Jihad, terrorist organizations that carried out a mass atrocity on October 7th and whose cheerleaders are marching in the streets of our cities here in the UK. I think it's incumbent upon all partners involved in the negotiations, be they the United Kingdom, the United States, Israel, Qatar, Egypt, whoever, to put maximum pressure on all parties to ensure that the freedom of the 98 hostages is secured and that they are released immediately.
Okay, and are you actually tell us a bit about Adam. Sorry, Adam is you, Zahaki. Tell us a bit about Zahaki. What's he like? How will he potentially deal with this situation that he's been forced to be in?
The last time we saw Tzachi in person was when he was frog-marched out of the home that was invaded by Hamas terrorists after they killed his firstborn daughter. He watched his firstborn daughter, Mayan, who had just celebrated her 18th birthday only a few days earlier, die in his arms. Her blood was all over him as he was frog-marched out of the community in Nahalos and taken with our neighbor Omri Miran, who also languishes in Gaza tunnels alongside him. Omri has 2 small children, Alman Roni, ages 1 and 3, who have not been able to see their father all this time. Tzachi himself, he has 4 children, one of whom was murdered, 3 other children who desperately want to see their father returned home to them, and a beautiful wife, Gali, who's been fighting every day for him, for his mother, for his cousins, everybody who has been working tirelessly for all the hostages to come home immediately. Tsahi is greatly missed. All of them are greatly missed by their loved ones, and it's unconscionable that it's taken this long.
Yeah, undoubtedly. You mentioned the marches at the weekends. Of course, many of those people are also calling for an immediate ceasefire. If there is a ceasefire, what are you hoping will happen going forwards for the Israelis and the Palestinians?
Well, I think the emphasis should be on the release of the hostages, and I say that because the ceasefire follows from that. If the hostages are not released, I think that the pause in any conflict will never cease. The opportunity we have here, the way to change things up in terms of the conflict that we're all stuck in, this quagmire, this internecine perpetual forever war, is for the hostages to be freed, to be returned to their loved ones, and for Hamas to surrender. Hamas are a terrorist organization. They have brought ruin upon Gaza, and thousands of lives have been destroyed because of their activities. And behind them, of course, state actors like Iran and like Qatar, who have been putting up the Hamas Politburo in five-star luxury hotels and supporting them for years. So I don't see Qatar as a neutral mediator. I don't think that we've really addressed the root cause of this problem, which is the terrorism sponsored by countries like Iran. And I think it's about time we do.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Adam Marnitz, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Thank you.
Thank you.